Good morning. Over here at the Coliseum Arena in Oakland to cover the JPA meeting today. Starts at 8:30, so I got to get in there quick. So among the things on the agenda is the RingCentral naming rights deal at the Coliseum. In the wake of Scott McKibben's resignation and subsequent charges for conflict of interest in trying to get the naming rights deal done. He thought he was a contractor, and that's besides the point. The whole deal may end up being scrapped, or it's been renegotiated. So we're going to get on in here. And morning. I am not. I'm just covering. Thank you. All right. So get on in here, see what's going on. There's a couple folks in here. Not much happening yet. So folks are just milling about at this point. So we'll see how that goes. So I'm interested to actually kind of see how this changes in the coming months with the A's buying the county out. Now, do the A's replace the county representatives on the JPA with their own representatives? I'm not really sure how that works. The lighting here is terrible. But yeah, we'll have to see how this goes with the naming rights deal. It was a 3-year deal. We're not even 1 year through. It was signed in. Well, there's nothing really going on right now, but check it out. Like I said, there's just a few folks here. Not a lot to see here just yet. I'm just gonna hang out. Just trying to find a better position here. Yeah. Yep, gonna get up front and center here. Somebody, hopefully I'm not stealing somebody's seat. Yeah, I'm down front here.
Yeah, I know we're supposed to have that line.
There's one of the guys here made me wonder if he's in his Raiders gear. I was wondering if he's here to complain about a sign that's posted out front, because there's a 49ers ad on a billboard next to the Coliseum. So a few people have been complaining online that was some sacrilegious event. Honestly, I find it to be really funny. But we'll see how that plays out too, if that comes into discussion at all. Yeah. So everybody's still mostly just kind of hanging out. I don't know if people are in the back or they're just not here yet. Yeah, it should be pretty interesting. Yeah, folks are filtering in now, taking seats, so we'll probably get going here in a couple minutes. American Man glasses. Unfortunately, only seen like half your message, Zenny. It's like it cuts off. I don't know how to make that. Let me see what's that. Okay. Yeah, the chat feature on the YouTube live is weird. It truncates the messages, so I only got the up to Lauren on that last message, Zenny. For some reason, it's not putting everything into a box. Scott Haggerty's here. Gotcha. So question for you, Zenny, is do you know how this plays out once the A's take over on their part? Do they replace the county's seats on the board, or do you know how that works? Be interested in learning about that, seeing how that ends up playing out for the future of the Coliseum and arena and events that happen here.
Mr. Chair, I believe that you have a quorum to.
All right, here we go.
Boyer is going to act as secretary for this meeting. He has consented to do so. Please retract to do so.
So we're going to call this meeting to order, and we'll do roll call. So Chairperson Reed,
Here.
Vice Chair Miley, Commissioner De La Fuente, Commissioner Haggerty,
Here.
Commissioner Hill,
Here.
Commissioner Taylor,
Here.
Commissioner Thompson,
Here.
Ms. Flora, and other acting secretary is now present, Ms. Betsy Lake. Ms. Lake will just call the roll, and the chair has called the meeting to order. So we're now on the approval of the minutes.
Many apologies. I understand we are on approval of the minutes. To the chair.
Taylor, second by Commissioner Hagley.
So the minutes have passed unanimously, which moves us to item 4, open forum. I believe there are 2 speakers, John Day and Eric Madison. You can approach the podium in any order.
I do have a few things to say that I'm not very happy about. You guys let the Warriors leave. 41 games of sold out games for years here, and you guys replaced that with a team that's only going to have 7 home games in the Panthers, and it's only going to be half full. And also, you guys didn't jump on the lawsuit against the Oakland Raiders, which you guys should have done as well. As well, you're allowing the A's to purchase public land for something that's not going to be, that they're not going to use. They're going to probably sell it. So, I mean, seriously? And another thing too is that I'm very bothered by the sign outside with the 49ers. This is not 49ers land. This is the Oakland Raiders. This is Oakland. It's not San Francisco. And yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Thank you. There was one additional name that was called. If that person is here, please approach the mic.
The meeting is to accept the fiscal year audit, correct? Yes, no.
Do you want to speak when we get to the item? Or do you want to speak on the phone?
I don't think it's proper to actually speak about it in open forum, so I would like to speak about it when it comes to, or after the meeting. Can we disagree?
The item, presentation of audit report is item 6B. Would you like to wait till that time?
Correct.
And can you state your name?
John? Yeah.
Got it. All right, with that, we move on to item 5, reports. We're starting with 5A, the executive director's report.
Mr. Gordon.
Chairperson Reed and members of the authority, I have prepared a brief report for your consideration. The first item is the status of the RingCentral negotiations. You will recall that we informed RingCentral back in the fall that we were rescinding and voiding the original agreement. And so I have been in negotiations with the chief operating officer since that time. We had reached agreement on all of the major deal points and was waiting really to pretty much dot the i's and cross the t's. When I was informed by the chief administrative operating officer of RingCentral that they had some concerns regarding the deal points. I informed them that I was not inclined and remain not inclined to bring any major changes to the deal points we had already reached. I did receive a call just yesterday, and I'll be following up on that with the chief operating officer regarding the status of these negotiations, and I'm hopeful that they will stick to our original agreement, which had not yet, original meaning the one that we renegotiated, had not yet been consummated. I will inform the board as soon as we have reached a conclusion regarding the negotiations. Is there any questions that we have to respond to? The bridge repairs, we're calling this bridge repairs so that people know basically what the location is, but these are not repairs to the actual bridge. That's the structure that leads from the BART station to the Coliseum complex. The first roughly portion of that bridge from San Leandro is the responsibility of BART. The second portion, which leads up to the Coliseum complex, is the responsibility of the city of Oakland. These repairs are actually repairs to the walls that connect with the bridge, and these walls are clearly on Coliseum property. I'm asking for approval to make some adjustments in the capital budget, not to increase the capital budget. We have reviewed, I have with our general manager and their staff, the capital improvement projects. There are sufficient funds in the current budget to accommodate this additional $75,000. It was originally budgeted at $100,000. Right now, we budgeted $3.7 million for all of our capital expenditures, and to date, we've spent $1.2 million and have about $2.5 million left. So we've spent only about 33% of the budgeted amount. This again amounts to making some changes internally within the capital budget. Some projects are not proceeding as fast as we thought. Some are coming in under estimates, but I want to bring this to your attention that I have given approval to ASN Global to proceed with this project. These are structural problems. The concrete is corroding. It's a safety issue, and it needs to be undertaken. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to respond to that as well.
Yes, Supervisor.
So are you done with your report?
Oh, no. I have two other items. Three. The basketball floor replacement. We need a basketball court to accommodate the Harlem Globetrotters first games which start this month. We had actually four options. One was to make an outright purchase, which was estimated at $151,000. That did not seem like a good idea. A second was to rent a basketball court. That would be $25,000 for 3 days of use, plus we'd have to pay for transport. Based on past history, it's reasonable to assume that the Harlem Globetrotters will be here for at least the next 3 years, where we would have already paid for it. A third option was to buy a used court, reconditioned used court for $85,000, and that is the course that we are pursuing. That cost is approximately $85,000. That's another item that was not specifically called out in the capital budget, but again, there are sufficient funds to accommodate it. And that's where we are on that issue. And I think that to purchase it, the reconditioned court, is the best of the four options. Yes.
Was it not an option to remove the logos from the existing court?
Well, two responses to that. One is, as you, I think, are aware, because I've reported to it in the past, that we have a number of outstanding issues that we're negotiating with the lawyers. And I think that we raise a question that we're not ready to answer by removing that logo. I think that would absolutely lead to a dispute in this court.
Supervisor,
Okay, so I have a few questions now. First of all, who bought the court, the original court, the one that we were using for Warriors games?
I believe that the JPA purchased the court. Chris Wright probably can respond to that more authoritatively.
I'd like him to come forward.
All of the basketball courts have historically been purchased by the city and county, by JPA Coliseum, not by
by the Warriors.
So then what's the issue?
Um,
We own the court.
Without dispute, you own the court. You purchased a couple of new ones over the course of the last.
Chris, I'm having a hard time hearing you for some reason.
You absolutely purchased the court. There's no question about it. In the past, the Warriors have expressed interest in prior basketball courts, particularly after championship seasons. They did not get those courts. They did not buy those courts. They recognized the ownership right that the Coliseum had having purchased those courts. I think it's simply in this case that there's a list of items that are being reviewed as to what the Warriors have, what they don't have, and they've thrown this onto the list because they would simply would
So
like to have
where's
it.
the court now?
It's in the arena.
Possession is 99.9 tenths of the law.
So is payment.
Huh?
So is payment. You paid for it.
And we paid for it, so why are we going to buy another one? You have an answer?
I
will attempt to. I'll attempt to
But
answer.
I'm having a hard time hearing this.
Can you hear me?
Can Chris, can you address that question that's
As to why we would purchase a new one?
Yeah.
So the final Warrior court has a premium value on it for sponsorship purposes and other purposes that far exceeds the cost of a new court. So the new court is actually a very smart thing to do because the prior court that the Warriors have played on has a value far in excess of the amount that it takes to purchase a brand new court.
I don't understand. I really don't. Because I'm having, for some reason, an extremely hard time hearing you. It could be my own thing, but the premium value is what?
The value of the court, there are things we could do with the court, including the wholesale of the court, that the value of which is far in excess of purchasing the court that we purchased. So to use the Warriors court just for the couple of events a year where that we need a basketball
It's
court.
not the Warriors' court.
Fair enough. I meant the court that they played on, not that they
Okay,
owned
good.
it, but the court that they played on. Has a value far in excess of a used basketball court that we need once or twice a year.
Okay. As I remember last time when they made the playoffs, the Warriors when we went down below, they were busy pulling off labels, this all sticky labels, because the NBA wanted it a certain way and all that. I'm having a hard time understanding why we own the court and you know, we can pull the stickers off. Then why on earth would we go buy another court? What would we do with the court we have?
So that court will be sold in whole or part and used in whole or part for sponsorship values that are far in excess of the cost of the court that was purchased.
Say that again. That court will be sold?
In whole or part at values that exceed fairly significantly the cost of purchasing a new court for the
So
couple
you're
of
telling me
years.
if we cut it up and sell it to a bunch of people that want to own a piece of the Warriors court, then that's good?
I would say that there's a number of potential uses for
Okay,
it.
so why wouldn't we use the court for the upcoming event and then cut it up or whatever we want to do? I'm struggling to find out why we're gonna make an expenditure, and I know this isn't your thing and you're just answering, but I'm struggling to find out why when we have a perfectly good court, we're gonna turn around, when we can pull the decals off it, we're gonna turn around and buy another court, betting on the come that we can turn around and maybe get more money on the court we own.
So the issue is that the pulling off of stickers and resurfacing and the work that has to be done to set that back to neutral is pretty significant. It's not as simple as taking the sticker off. You're completely taking off the surface of the court, you're removing those, you're putting new surface back on after you level it. It's a lot of work. And then next year, or the next time we have an event this summer, for example, where we'll have a basketball event, we would have to go find a new court.
So my assumption is, if I remember right, are the Golden Globetrotters this weekend?
That's correct.
So we've already made a decision, haven't we, Henry? We've already done something.
Yes.
Okay, so this is just, we're just showboating now.
we're not,
So-
excuse me, Mr. Chair, we're not sure. If I can back up. This issue is one of the issues that we're currently negotiating with the workers.
I hear that, but
We had
we shouldn't be negotiating with them on something we own, that we flat out understand we own.
Their stickers are on it. I would recommend, since we are in litigation with them, that we discuss this in closed session, but I will be as complete as I can. Two things about the court. Yes, to your question. Well, no to your comment. We're not sure. Secondly, we had a choice. The Harlem Globetrotters are here this month, as I recall.
According to the report, it's tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that's right. And so, one more point about this. When we consider these options, as I said, we eliminated the new court. This is a reconditioned court. The JPA can sell this court, the one that we are purchasing, we can sell that court in the future. So it's not a throwaway cost, but we were at a point where we either run the risk of more arguments, litigation, et cetera, or take this course. And I recommend that we take this course. You're right, with respect to this item and also with respect to the bridge repairs. This board meets once a month. Some of these issues come up urgently. I try to be as transparent as I can with you to bring these matters before you, even if it's after the fact. I did discuss both of these matters, as I recall, with the chair. That's not sufficient. That's the reason I have it on the agenda for your full discussion and disclosure. This is not sugar.
Well, Henry, I think the way, maybe there's a, I'm trying to figure out how to say this, a misunderstanding in the way it was presented, because the way you presented it, I thought we still had options. And I would state for the record that you called me, and you talked this over with me, but at no time was I told that we still have possession and in fact pay for the court, or we pay for the lawyer's support. So
JPA's court.
yeah, so we own a court already, so I'm still struggling to find out why we went out and bought another one, when in fact, I don't know how much it costs for a condition court. I have no idea to pull the stickers off and get it ready, but, you know, I just felt like when you just presented it, we still had options, and we don't have options. You purchased the court, I think.
We had an option. We could have either done nothing, and we would have had no court for the Harlem Globetrotters. We could have used the JPA's court that has the Warriors stickers all over it and invite another big argument,
I
or
understand
do
that.
what we did. And you're right. And that's what I said in the report, that those were the options that were before us. And we could have had a special meeting to consider this. We had this was called to my attention about 3 weeks before we had to act.
Look, Henry, I'm going to be clear. If we only have meetings once a month, and that's a problem for you, then we need to have more meetings.
It's not a problem for me, it's a problem for the board.
Well,
I was
I'm
getting a regular
more,
meetings.
I
I don't mean to be argumentative, but I am not going to sit here and told that this presentation is showboating.
Oh, Henry, I think you take one word into really all this. You can, and if you want to argue, I'm more than happy to argue with you. Although I have a little bit more respect for you than that. But when I was presented with the options, I was not told that we own a court already. Okay? And the fact that the decision's already been made, the presentation was just given to us that said we have options. We don't have options. We've already done it. So, and I respect that because it's probably done within your signature authority. So it is what it is. I think you're trying to engage in an argument, and I am not. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. Now, on the other item, trying to.
Can I ask a question? How much would it cost to, as Supervisor Hunter indicated, Chris, about just pulling up the stickers, or it's got to be refurbished? What's the estimated cost on that?
Unfortunately, I don't have that number.
it would have been maybe a third of the cost of the, it would have been maybe a third of the cost of the refurbished court that was purchased. However, using it for another event after the Warriors season would have diminished its sponsorship or third-party sale value.
Well, that's the clarity. I just wanted to establish clarity and repeat what I'm hearing to make sure. So the court is paid for, the court is owned, but the rationale that is informing the decision is that the court as is, unrefurbished, without removing the stickers, has future value that outweighs whatever the expenditure would be now to satisfy the game that is coming.
That is accurate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Henry, the first item you reported on, what was that? The RingCentral negotiation. And then, I was regarding what it is.
There are two other items that are put here. One is the Panthers contract. You asked questions about that. Because,
Can I ask my question before I forget?
Yes, please.
So I'm trying to understand on the $75,000 expenditure, you said, I think you said Bart owns one side of it, the city of Oakland owns the other side, but we're gonna pay to fix it?
no,
Okay.
no. What I said was, we refer to this, first came to me from ASM Global as bridge repairs. And so I kept that description so you know generally the area we're talking about. These walls are not on the bridge. The walls are neither the responsibility of the city, nor are they the responsibility of art. The walls are on JPA Coliseum.
And excuse me, I have a request from IT in the back. If the commissioners would speak directly into the microphone for the recording, that's the request.
I can't hear what everybody else is saying. Can you hear that out of that? Can we turn this one around so I can hear?
A little feedback. If you could just speak within 3 to 6 inches of the microphone.
I think he's saying he can't hear when other people are talking, so is there a way to increase the speakers?
All right, go ahead. Your report.
Is it? Then the Panthers contract is what I was on. You had asked for information regarding this. That contract has not yet been fully consummated or executed, but I provided you with tentative key points. This is a contract that would not normally come to the board. Under the management agreement, ASM Global would have responsibility and authority to negotiate the terms of these series of events. Should that lead to a lower term arrangement with more games, then it starts moving into the area of what you've done with the Warriors, the Raiders, and the A's. And should that happen, then we would propose that this be brought to the board for your formal action.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Are you having discussions about who is going to be getting the concessions money?
From the Panthers?
Yeah.
Activists, I'd ask Chris Wright if he would respond to that.
The deal with the Panthers is structured in such a way that they don't necessarily get specific revenue shares from food and beverage or anything else. It's done as a combined revenue share with them across a variety of revenue streams, so that there's a certain amount that they get per person to help incentivize them to drive attendance, which is in large part how we earn money from those events.
So is it correct? Is it correct in assuming that the Panthers come in, they pay us $45,000 a game, they're hoping to recover that $45,000 through ticket sales. We don't share in any of that, and we keep the concessions.
So concessions, parking, ticket revenues, basically all revenue stays with the arena. They pay the rental amount plus all expenses. And then, based upon attendance, we do a revenue share with them that is not specific to any individual revenue stream, but a combination of revenue streams.
Thank you, Chris.
Then the last item that's on the agenda is just one to know, particularly for Commissioner Taylor, that this issue was not forgotten. It's the monetization that you raised a few meetings back regarding the arena website. And so this is just an update on that. As we say in the report, we do collect the names and email addresses of anyone using the public Wi-Fi network, and we use that to promote future events. It is possible to use that information, but as I note here, it raises some privacy issues, and that would have to be addressed. Not problematic, though, is we could advertise on the system, and that does not raise the privacy issue. So we'll continue to explore those.
Okay. All right. So thank you for that update on monetizing it. I think those are both good paths to sort of follow up on. Obviously, the ad sales on the website, that's one that I think we can move forward on relatively quickly. So encourage that. On the data, Ticketmaster gets the data. Is it it's our JPA data that we are then giving to Ticketmaster so that Ticketmaster can promote for their purposes? Or is it data that's being used for JPA purposes?
I think perhaps both, but again, Chris, just stay close to the microphone. They are the ones who are intimately involved in some of these issues.
So I guess the first question is, who owns the data that's collected in terms of the names, the email addresses, the contact info? And then are we giving it to Ticketmaster for free?
So there's a couple of different things. So Ticketmaster has folks who sign up as a client of Ticketmaster, and that data obviously belongs to Ticketmaster. The ticket purchaser data is something that we control. We have that data, and we use that to market events for people who opt in to receive notifications of upcoming events.
And when folks sign up on the Wi-Fi, there's additional data that's collected. That data is what's in the report. That is JPA data.
That's correct.
And we give it to Ticketmaster at no cost? Is that what my understanding here?
We wouldn't give that to Ticketmaster if someone's signing up for the website, for the internet service.
Okay, I thought that's what I read in the report, so maybe that's it.
Sorry, your question is?
I believe what I read in the report was that as people sign up on the public Wi-Fi, their data, name, email address, is collected, and that information is added to Ticketmaster marketing platform for targeted promotion of future events. I think what I just asked, you said that we don't give that data to Ticketmaster, right, Chris?
Sorry, so we're parsing words here a little bit. So it is accurate that we would take the information that we receive on user information for internet service and then aggregate that with some of the Ticketmaster data that we control in order for to use it for marketing purposes. But that's us aggregating it together. It's not us giving Ticketmaster that information.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. And then on the just two other points on the earlier conversations, I do agree with Commissioner Haggerty. With all due respect, Executive Director Gardner, if the decision's already been made, I think that should be clear in the Executive Director's report that we're already down a path, and it's more information update as to what the previous considerations were, because I don't think that was as clear in the report. And then,
I'm sorry, Mr.
so relative to the options that were presented for the basketball court, if options were evaluated, I think that's appropriate to share, but also to clarify that a decision's already been made relative to those options, which here it was presented as though we have the ability to choose between the options, even though there was definitely a recommended one. So just wanted to co-sign, if you will, on that point. And then as far as the basketball court, if we're basing the decision on future monetization of that court, I would like to receive a summary of the proposed steps for monetizing it and what the estimated value is and how we're going to dispose of it and what we expect to get. So I'm hoping that could come. It could be a memo. It doesn't need to be back in a sort of meeting report, but being able to understand how we're moving forward relative to realizing the value that put us on this path, this decision path. So great.
Commissioner Taylor, your comment is also relevant to the issue regarding the bridge repairs, because that work is underway. It was commenced subject to your capital improvement budget. It was once they got into it that they discovered that further work needed to be done. Under comment, I take it as fair comment.
Understood. Thank you.
Yes.
Regarding the Wi-Fi issue, I just want to note, as your report reflects, this does raise serious legal concerns if we were to start selling data. I would just want to confirm that legal counsel will be involved in weighing in on that decision.
Before we do anything with it, absolutely.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
To the chair, before we move off of this item 5A, there has been an additional speaker card submitted. And I think it's to your discretion whether you want to take the speaker.
I'm sorry.
An additional speaker card has been submitted for this item 5A. And I think it's up to your discretion whether to take it.
Yeah.
All right, can Ken Houston please approach the podium?
Good morning, everyone. In regards to the basketball court, I think it was a very wise decision to actually purchase it and use that leverage of the monies to bring money back to the JPA or to the Coliseum. And as a member of the Community Advisory Board, I sit on the Community Advisory Board here, and I have a self-interest too for the community. If they ever get rid of that basketball court that they purchased, the temporary one, in the community of Alameda County, throughout Alameda County, they have community centers and high schools and junior high schools that need basketball courts. I think that if they ever do that, it'd be wise to donate that and use that as a credit too for donating to a community that needs a basketball court. So I support that purchase of that floor and to actually use that as leverage to cut it up, however you guys word it, cut it up and sell it. Thanks.
All right, with that? No?
Go ahead.
Where are we at with the concessions contract?
The leading provisions contract, we plan to bring that back to you at your next meeting. The Sixth Amendment, which you approved at your previous meeting, incorporated the language from the previous amendments, which said that the extension was based on the same terms and conditions as essentially then existed. What has happened since then is that Levy has proposed some rate changes conditioned upon that approval, of course, which you would have to agree to. And their rationale is that with the Warriors having left, the thresholds for the percentage that they would pay on the concessions would severely impact their ability to operate because they have certain fixed costs. I have asked them to tell us in writing convincingly why those rate changes would make sense before we even bring them back to you. But right now, what you have approved is continuing the then existing rate changes. What they're proposing is a lower version.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, in light of that information, I would like to ask that you form a subcommittee that can get involved in this and maybe be here more than once a month. The reason I say that question is I attended an event here the other day, and it was the same night as a Warriors event. And I can tell you that we have been told in the past that our employees here like to work here because it's too hard to get over to San Francisco. There's no parking, on and on and on. I can tell you that the staff that was here, that was representing the league, was just short of horrible. There was very few concession stands open. They quit selling the adult beverage prior to the intermission of the event. They were selling pretzels that were probably about a week and a half old. They had no salt on them. I know this one from a person that was sitting with me that was complaining about it. You come over to this concession stand right here. The line was way back here for an event that was not a full arena. The reason the lines here were so bad is because most of the other concession stands were closed. The one down the way, where the kind of the food court area, there was only one open. It was probably 100 deep in people trying to get some sort of service, which they could not get. I walked up to this line over here trying to purchase some food. When I finally got there, the woman next to me said, "What? No beer?" And the lady said, "We don't have any." In the meantime, you looked at everything behind you, the popcorn, the pretzels, everything was completely empty. And so I said, "Well, we're out of beer?" Because it looked like we were out of everything else. And she said, "No, we just quit selling it." And then she proceeded to tell me that her feet hurt and she needs to go sit down. I mean, you can't. This was probably the worst service I've ever seen in an arena in my life. And I think that we need to form a subcommittee quickly that could be nimble enough to have discussions about this, because the fans that came to this event certainly deserve better service than what they were getting. They were missing part of the 2-hour event because they were in line trying to get a stale pretzel.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
you may recall that you would want to reconfigure it. You appointed a subcommittee, I think back in October, and Commissioner Haggerty Taylor Fuente was on it. Yes, and Bill Whitney were on that subcommittee.
I want to do it.
If I may, perhaps we can sort of have a plan for actually convening that subcommittee, or at least a target time frame, so that it doesn't wait a few months and then end up in the same situation.
I'm ready to go to Monday morning.
Let's celebrate MLK Day, and then we can maybe Tuesday.
All right, Tuesday.
We'll ask for the circulating.
It is important that we get this done as soon as possible.
I don't disagree. And, Henry, if you want to call Commissioner Del Fuentes.
Yes, I will ask.
Oh.
Thank you. That completes my report. Unless there's any questions.
With that, we will move to item 5B, the General Manager's Report.
At least with walking back and forth, I get a little bit of exercise, so that's good. Good morning again. A couple of items that I would like to highlight in guest service and arena rebranding. You know, in discussing arena rebranding, the primary focus of that has been, there's been some outward consumer-facing rebranding going on, but more specifically inside of the music industry and what this venue is going to mean to concert touring in the future and currently. And we're getting a lot of traction. I've mentioned in previous meetings that 2020 looks like it's going to be a pretty good year for us on the concert side. I was originally had a little more concern over a competition with Case Center, but it appears that we're going to get past that honeymoon period pretty quickly. We've announced a couple of Pearl Jam shows the other day, and we have in the last 2 weeks confirmed another 5 shows that aren't announced yet in April and May. So it's going to be a very strong 2020 for us. Thank you.
All right, we will move to item 6, new business, starting with 6A, resolution avoiding and rescinding the naming rights agreement between the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Authority and RingCentral, Inc., approved on May 31st, 2019.
Mr. Gordon.
Mr. Chair, members of the we put this item on so that we had formally avoided the previous agreement. We have not been working with that agreement since the early fall. We informed RingCentral that that agreement was null and void, and we have been negotiating an entirely new agreement, so this formalizes that.
I don't know that this matters, but, because I think what's before us we have to do. But how far are we from a possible new agreement?
I would have said a month ago that we were ready to present the renegotiated agreement to the board, waiting for RingCentral to sign off. Subsequently, those negotiations have stalled. I received a call just yesterday saying that they are ready to go back to where we last left our discussions, which was agreement on all of the key deal points that in fact we had agreed on the language, including commas and semicolons.
Okay. I'll move the item.
Just to confirm, we are changing the word avoid to void, right?
Oh,
Or are we?
no, no, look at
Okay, I wasn't sure which we were stating in Mr. Gardner when you said that.
The word should remain as avoiding. It's a statutory language, and I would encourage its use.
Okay, gotcha. Second.
It's been moved and seconded regarding seeing none.
The next item is item 6B, presentation of audit report for JPA fiscal year 2018 and 19, and we have one speaker.
Let me just, Supervisor Hammond had mentioned earlier to me that, we just got this document today. So we have not had an opportunity to review it. And we'll be able to ask intelligent questions seeking response about from staff. So we would like to, Supervisor Hammond, I would like to put this over to the next JPA meeting.
That's
As
fine.
well. Can I ask a question? Because although it is important that I read this, because I think it's, I think it might have some comments in there that we should read, but today it's only down as a presentation.
Correct.
Is the staff's intent just to give it to us today and then come back at a later date and vote for it?
That's correct. In the past, we haven't brought it forward. We've distributed it to the chair, the members of the chair of the board. But we felt that it was important to bring it forward to the public. So it's just a presentation for today.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, and I know that you weren't sticking up for my wishes, but I had since saw that and thought maybe.
That's all.
Okay.
Okay, okay.
Do we want to take the one public speaker? Or after the presentation?
So per section 11 of the amended and restated joint exercise of powers agreement and in compliance with the California Government Code section 6505, the authority is required to contract with a certified public accountant to make an annual audit of the authority's accounts and records, and a report shall be filed. The authority has contracted with Macias, Ginny and O'Connell, LLP or MGO, to perform these services for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2019. MGO completed their audit in December 2019 and issued an unmodified opinion on the general fund and the debt service fund opinion units, and an adverse opinion on the governmental activities and special revenue fund opinion units of the authority's financial statements. MGO gave an adverse opinion because the authority has chosen to not create an allowance for doubtful accounts for the outstanding Raiders loans. The authority made this decision several years ago in order to protect the legal claim of the authority to the assets outlined in the loan agreement. All the aspects of the financial statements are in compliance. All other aspects of the financial statements are in compliance with generally accepted accounting principles. Just to close, the authority's unassigned fund balance in the general fund increased approximately $12 million from fiscal year 2017-18 to fiscal year 2018-19 to a total of $30 million. This increase was primarily due to the increased facilities fees from the Warriors playoff games and AEG events, along with some reductions in capital expenditures. David Bullock, who's the partner from the CS Ginny and O'Connell, is here and available to answer any additional questions you may have.
I couldn't even tell who was talking. So dark. Oh, that guy.
Good morning. Chair Reed, members of the commission. David Bullock from MGO. We've completed our audit for the financial statements for the year ended June 30th, 2019. So I did see the opinion letters and some of the correspondence that we've issued in the packet. I didn't see the financial statement. So if you're seeing that for the first time, you may not have questions for me. So I'll just run through our responsibilities and what we did. And if you have questions, I can always come back at a future date to assist in answering those questions. There's 3 deliverables as part of our audit. We issued the opinion on the basic financial statements, and that's in the bound document you have in front of you. We've also issued a letter to the commission that basically is what we communicate as the results of the audit. And then the third letter that we issued relates to government auditing standards, which we report on internal controls and compliance. So the financial statements, which is the bound report that you're looking at, is prepared by management, and currently Alameda County is managing the books of the authority. And our opinion is on page 1 through 3 of this report. And as Melissa had mentioned, we did express an adverse opinion on 2 of the opinion units. The way governments work is you have funds, and we report on the fund statements, but we also report on the government-wide financial statements. And where you have accounted for the Raiders loan, we've expressed an adverse opinion because we believe that the amounts on the financial statements need to be reflective of what your net realizable value is, what you're going to actually collect from those loans. And there's been no provision or allowance for uncollectible amounts. And we understand that there's reasons for that you've taken a position of not wanting to maybe give the Raiders a new negotiation tool by acknowledging that you're expecting less than that actual amount. So, but as generally accepted accounting principles require, your assets should be reported at that net realizable value. So we've expressed an adverse opinion on those 2 opinion units, the special revenue fund that you use to account for that loan, and on the government-wide financial statements. The amounts due from the Raiders is accumulated because of interest to about $180 million, which is a pretty significant amount on your financial statements. But as Melissa also mentioned, the rest of the report, the general fund, which is your main operating fund, and all of the other aspects of your financial reporting meet the requirements of generally accepted accounting principles. And so the remaining funds have an unmodified opinion in those financial statements. If you don't, I'll just kind of briefly go through the other documents. If you have questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. The second document I was going to discuss is just the summary of our audits. It's 4 pages, and it basically lets you know, outside of just the audit opinion, the results of our audit. We want you to be informed on some of the decisions that are in the financial statements or changes. So we communicate to you in this document if there's any change in consistency. During the year, you implemented a couple of new standards, and so we wanted to alert you to that. And the most significant one was probably the new debt disclosure requirements, and those have been included in your long-term debt footnote disclosures. There's estimates involved in the financial statement preparation. The investments are reported at fair value. Receivables should have an allowance for uncollectible amounts, and your capital assets have depreciation, and so there's an estimate of their useful lives. So those are the estimates that are involved in your financial statements. We point out that what we think are maybe the 2 most significant footnote disclosures for your report, which is note 4, where you give a little bit of background of how those loans originated with the Raiders and where they stand today, or as of June 30, 2019. And we also believe your long-term debt note is pretty significant, with your 2 outstanding bond issues and the repayment of those in the future. And then we highlight again the loan with the Raiders as being a finding. And then lastly, the third document is a document we're required to issue when we follow the government auditing standards, and it's a report that focuses on communicating internal controls and compliance-related matters. And we do report a finding of material weakness on, again, on the loans, and since there is no provision in your internal controls or in your financial statement preparation to value those loans at the net realizable value, we've included a comment on that. So with that, I'll conclude my presentation and be willing to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you.
I guess my question, having just started to digest this, is given the adverse findings, and I think I understand the rationale that we have taken to, I guess in terms of how those loans are being captured and reported, but I guess I'm also curious, and maybe this is I guess has to do with legal matters and needs to be addressed in closed session, but is there a time frame by which we anticipate the resolution to where we would be getting more in line with generally accepted accounting practices and principles? I just better, I'd appreciate some sort of just response relative to where we are, timing, and some sort of resolution towards this.
Commissioner Taylor, one of the reasons why we continue to maintain those debts on the books is because they are forgivable loans, but they are forgiven at the conclusion of the Raiders' tenancy with both of this facility as well as the training facility, and they have the entitlement to stay at the training facility for an additional 36 months following their departure from this facility. The leading reason for keeping the loans on the books is that some of the concession payments, parking payments, and others are taken from the Raiders during the season and applied toward those loan debts. So as long as they have an obligation to pay, we would not wipe out those debts and then have no reason to come up with those obligations. So I would anticipate that once the Raiders are fully gone from both this facility and the training facility, that the loans would then be forgiven and they would come off the books.
Thank you. And then I know that I guess the other question is, does the lawsuit with the Raiders have any implications on this, or is it completely separate?
So the JPA is not a party to any litigation with the Raiders.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hagerty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since there's a lot of talk about the Raiders and particularly things like that, we use this opportunity to ask this question. We reported on Channel 2 last night that they're having problems with the roof, I think, on the new building. And my question would be, at what point did the water, I understand it was a one-year deal with a one-year extension. At what point do they have to tell us if they're going to need some time in this facility, or has that already passed?
It's March 31st, 2019.
Has there been any discussions with
2020, March 31st, 2020.
And is there any discussions with them, or are we assuming that they're going to get past these roof problems and be able to open on time?
No and no.
That's my answer.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Yes, I'm sorry.
As to the adverse finding, is that a new issue that's been in prior reports as well? Thank you, just wanted to.
All right. So this will come back to us to vote on it.
Yes. We'll put it on the next agenda for the formal vote.
There still is one public speaker if you're.
Yes, please.
John Day.
Mr. Day.
After hearing all of that, I don't want to, I'm fine.
Thank you.
Sort of.
That's it.
That is the end of the agenda.
On the closed section.
All right, with that, it's 9:37. open session is adjourned, and we will go to closed session.
So they're going to close session here. I don't know if they'll come back. Are you coming back? Okay. Okay. All right. So I guess that's it for now. So I'll poke around here while they talk in closed session. I kind of wanted to poke around and see what's going on out here. Either setting up for the guess they're putting down the logo here. Yeah, usually they just come out and go, okay, we're done. Good old arena. I should see if they have tickets for this Globetrotters. My kid's been asking me to go. So let me go back in here. Something's happening. I don't know if they're just testing mics. Oh, sound guy's just testing a mic. Well, it sounds like from what they said that they're not going to use the old Warriors court. They're going to buy a used court and redo it, but I don't know. So, oh yeah, I can't tell if they're putting on a new logo. It looks like they're putting on a new logo. Not taking one off. This should be interesting. Gotta love this old place. Which court did they? Are you saying they sold like the old Warriors court's gone? Because it sounded like they wanted to hang on to it, and there was some speculation on. What's yeah, maybe I misunderstood it because I understood it as the old Warriors court is still here, but they don't want to use it because it had there may be some litigation tied up in it and whatever, and it has more value than what this used court would be, and then if they mess it up, maybe the old court would be less valuable. I don't know. It was such a mess, but yeah. Probably should have let them know that you made a decision before the meeting, and okay, I thought they bought a used floor and just didn't want to use the old floor because they wanted to sell it later. Okay, so that's what you got out of it. All right. just a lot of nobody telling anybody what's going on, it sounds like. So, just poking around here. Everybody left. Like even the sound guy's gone. Yeah, so it was an interesting meeting. Not a whole lot went on with the RingCentral deal. Looked like they're still working on hammering out some details. Get out the door here. Yeah, so it looks like they're hammering out some details. Sorry, I'm trying not to step in puddles. So I guess they'll come back soon with a new deal hammered out. I don't know how that works. Whether they get more money or less money out of it. Longer deal, shorter deal. It's hard to say. But it sounds like a big mess was made. Poke around here. Looks like they're starting to get working on getting the stadium ready for the A's. They at least uncovered these. They cover all the A's logos up during football season. They should get more money out of it. I mean, this is not an invaluable stadium. There will be more events happening here, and I'm sure the Raiders will be back next year. It sounds like a huge mess down in Las Vegas. A lot of hey, this old girl still got a lot of years left in her. She's sorry, I got the sun like is right there, so I can't really do a whole lot. I hate the idea that because something doesn't have as many bells and whistles that it becomes obsolete. It's not obsolete. I don't think you need new facilities all the time to make a championship, because that's pure nonsense. They need more money to maybe pay players or whatever. I don't know what it is. They more revenue streams is more what it's about than creating championships. Yeah, Fenway's old. Wrigley's old. Wrigley's great because they've updated that thing over and over. I remember up until like the mid '80s, like they didn't play night games because they had no lights. It was a big deal when there was a night game. Finally. And then, it's like we don't have any sort of, I don't know, we don't respect what we have. We just want to throw more money and whatever at these issues, and it's like why there are all these teams who they build these new stadiums and arenas, and then they go on to suck for 15 years. It's like, never making a playoff or hiring a superstar. It's like, what good was that? I'm sorry, BT. I didn't catch all of what you were saying there. All the little chat boxes keep going away. Yeah, I mean, those are places that have spent too much money. Yeah, like why? Why would you spend all that money on nothing? I mean, new stadiums do not equate necessarily to more anything. And it's even hard to say that right now. Raiders and Browns have not reported. I mean, they've gotten to the playoffs. They haven't gotten far. This latest round of the Raiders since was it '96? Didn't go so well. They went a couple years ago. Yeah, well, yeah, they had that one moment in the wild card and then blew it. Unfortunately, Derek Carr was injured. They were playing with second and third string quarterbacks. Man, that sun is bright today. I'm like, at least it's not raining. But yeah, they were done for. I'm actually found myself watching football again with the playoffs. Kind of out of, I wouldn't say out of necessity, but it's with the 49ers doing as well as they're doing, it's hard to escape it. There's too much happening. You can't walk into a bar or go to your friend's house or anything without anybody watching. I've been trying to avoid the NFL and not give them my attention or my money. Maybe if I watch it on your TV, then it doesn't count. I don't know how that works, but as far as collecting ratings, numbers, but yeah, I didn't want to give them my attention, but here we are. There were some really cool matchups that were possible and happening. One was I was really hoping Texans and Titans would go at it, and then the Seahawks and 49ers for that rubber match. I did catch the ends of both of those games, and they were pretty evenly matched, and really luck played a lot of roles in both those games, whether it was missed field goals or that delay of game penalty. They got lucky stopping a guy just literally on the line. So I wanted to see that play out, but I think there's some old grudges with 49ers and Green Bay. So that should be interesting. Kansas City, I'm just like, even though I don't care about the Raiders so much these days, I can't, your messages go way before I see them. How they lost to Jacksonville. Not really happy about Kansas City because, it's Kansas City. I guess I'll still always have that grudge with those guys. And then, who's the other? Oh, the Texans. I'm kind of rooting for the Texans. I used to live down in Houston. They're good people. I'm not going to hold the baseball thing against them, but it's the, I don't know. They've had a lot of bad luck when it comes to football. They lost the Oilers. They had some good teams, especially in the mid-'80s. They had Warren Moon, I believe Herschel Walker. But they never got to that point. I feel for them in a way because, they lost their team like we did. Texans are out of it. Hold on. Titans. I'm thinking Titans. Sorry, Titans. Kansas City whooped on the Texans. But I did feel for the Texans, because they've never had that success. They've never tasted it. And it just always escapes them. At least they've won in the NBA. Apparently they cheated their way to a World Series. So that kind of sucks. That's a whole other thing. With baseball, I'm a little bit more involved, and the point is, You know, with football, I've found myself watching again. They've made it exciting. I wouldn't have thought the Titans were going to be going to an AFC championship. I don't think a lot of people really gave them that sort of credit. Kansas City, everybody was talking about it. I have a feeling it's going to be Kansas City and San Francisco. I don't know. Don't have a big. I don't have anything really in it to really care. I'll just go to somebody's Super Bowl party. I just don't think they'll be dragging me back into a stadium or buying a NFL package anytime soon. Just everything I've seen over the last couple years have been really pretty dirty. So what I'm trying to do over here actually is give you guys a look at the sign that everybody's complaining about. If you guys were watching earlier, there was a guy who was complaining about the 49ers sign on the Coliseum property, which I think it's hilarious because people are like, oh, that shouldn't be here, and it's like, why not? I find it funny, and that people are so shook and triggered over a sign, like it's disrespect. But at the same time, and I know some of you were like this last season and the season before, when the A's were posting up signs in downtown San Francisco, on the bus stops, on the posts right there, right next to at the time it was AT&T Park. It's Oracle Park now. The sun is like right in my face. But I thought it was hilarious. It was just trolling at its best. And now you guys are letting them troll you and getting so heated about it. And I was like, come on, guys. It's not on this side. I'll just turn the camera here and show you. There's a sign right here. Yeah, it's a digital billboard right now. It's on the other side. I'm not going all the way over there to show you, but there are pictures online if you need to see it. The other side is a 49ers billboard, and if you guys have been paying attention, they're basically they're open for business for people who want to give up on the Raiders. And it's a smart move. Get you right at home. There's a lot of A's fans who came up, especially in those years in the mid 80s, where there was only one team in town. And so there's a lot of 49er fans that come to games, A's games, because that was the only team to like, unless you were, indoctrinated into the whole Raiders fold, by parents who are already here, like you'll see a lot of people down in LA who like the Dodgers and the Lakers and the Raiders. So, but just seeing that, it's hilarious. And I saw some folks who were like, hey, we should complain online or go down to the meeting today. And we only saw one guy, but they were like, we should go to the JPA meeting and complain. I'm like, one, nobody really cares. And, if you're that steadfast in your Raiders fandom, who cares? But this other part was, I'm like, so one of my many jobs that I do, I do advertising auditing, and I audit billboards like that for various companies. And one of the things is, as long as your ad isn't offensive, they're not going to take it down. And with the lease agreements and stuff that the landowners, in this case, the Coliseum, I guess the JPA, they don't really care. They got their money. and they lease the land and the sign to put the sign on, and then in this case Clear Channel owns the sign. It's they don't really have a say-so in what goes on that sign, but again, unless it's something that's offensive, or maybe in direct conflict with their own events or properties or whatever. And those things are negotiated ahead of time. Technically, there's no, at least on the public face, there's no intention of the Raiders playing at the Coliseum ever again. But there is that lease extension. I don't know why I'm sorry, I'm messing everybody's name. I want to say his name was Henry. But he was saying that he wasn't talking to the Raiders. Nobody's talking to the Raiders. But these conversations have happened. It's not just a rumor. They do have the extension. That was already inked in. It's whether or not they're actually going to use it. I think that's probably the point of contention. Guys like Zanny are far more in the know on this, and have more connections inside who actually do the talking and are actually involved in the negotiations. Yeah, I got the feeling that he wasn't honest about that answer. It's pretty well known, I would think, that these negotiations already happened. Again, I think we're at this point waiting for them to decide whether or not they're going to act on that extension. As Annie's reported a number of times, that there's no, the guy didn't have a good day at the meeting today. There's a few things where he, outright lied, things where he just withheld information, especially in regards to the floor. They're like, why didn't you just say so? Why didn't you say there's already a decision made? He's like, these things weren't in the reports, or weren't in the communications we had. So that guy's credibility is a little shot right now, and I don't know for what reason. But anyways, long story short, there's a really good chance the Raiders are playing in Oakland next year. And people got to understand the reasons why they aren't saying anything yet. One, they got a lot of egg on their face. Having problems like this is embarrassing. And I don't know why he would withhold it. It doesn't make much sense. I would think that you would want to be as straightforward as possible. I can't escape that, son. I would think you'd want to be as straightforward as possible in this, because if you are going to have events coming to the Coliseum, you want to be as ready as possible for them. You don't want to be waiting till the last minute to get things ready. And you still have the A's playing here. I'm sure the A's would love to know what's going on, because they're going to have to share a field come September and August, and hopefully October. There's other events that happen here. Once you start, if the longer that the Raiders play this game of misdirecting and outright lying about what the situation is in Las Vegas, not just the harder it is on Oakland to plan events, it makes it actually harder on the Raiders to plan events, because they already have a schedule. The NFL already has their schedule for next year. They already got, this is a home game, these are your opponents. They got to lock it in. The longer they do it, the more opportunity there is for the Raiders to screw themselves out of games because there's conflicts. Some of these other events are going to sign on the dotted line and pay their money, and without the contingency of the Raiders being here. And for, the same thing goes for the A's and anybody else who wants to be monster trucks or some big stadium concert. I don't know what they're trying to do in here, but all this lying and just misinformation that's happening is really putting everybody at risk. They need to be honest with the situation in Las Vegas. One, there's fans here who want to know if they're buying tickets for next season. There's people, I understand their point in lying or just not saying anything, which is, the longer that these things happen and when significant delays are happening, you're going to be pissing off a lot of people in Las Vegas. And your PSLs are going to slow down, sales are slowing down, your ticket sales slowed down, your sponsorship deals are in jeopardy, and it's just more delays after more delays. And last I read that this thing's not going to even get done until May. So to say that Zenny was ever wrong in this it's incredibly dishonest. I had actually talked to Zenny the other day about a tweet. It was Jason Cole. And he's like, he was reporting a Yahoo News article and about there's rumors of delays and there's rumors of negotiated contract. And I'm like, and I had to tell him, I'm like, this is old news. Zenny did the homework on this. I want to say back in August, maybe even earlier, that there were significant delays. And back then he was calculating, okay, we're 90 or 100 days behind, and this was some time ago. And for the mainstream media to finally catch on that it's a rumor is kind of insane. It's a rumor. I'm like, man, there's people who've been saying this long ago. June, okay, see, I wasn't sure about that. I know at least August. So here's Zenny is telling people, nobody's saying, this guy, this blogger, this vlogger, this independent media guy, nobody's giving him any credit. In fact, you have everybody jumping on that Zenny lies about stuff, and I'm like, what's the lie? June 20th, yeah, Zenny, you've been on top of this, and nobody's giving you any credit for it, and I've got to have your back on that. This is something that you've put the work into, and now it's suddenly new news. People are coming. What's even more incredible is that people aren't going to, or they could be, but they're not going to say the Las Vegas Review-Journal going, hey, we've got these broken bolts. They're not going to NBC or CBS or ESPN or any of those places. They sought out Zenny to put this out there because maybe they did bring it up to those guys, but it seems that any information that comes out that's negative gets buried. And that's a big problem with news in general, not just Las Vegas, but it happens within our reporting of stuff within the government, happens within story of just local things around us that affect us, but because maybe somebody wants to misinform the public, or maybe they just don't want their story getting out, they'll squash stories. It happens all the time. But in this case, I have to put it on guys like this that, you got to give Zenny the credit because he's been on this the entire time. He's been working with other bloggers and vloggers who've come to him with the information, and are basically working together to put this out there that this information is being withheld. And I think that's important to know. It's not just, I'm not saying it's not institutional racism. It's so much more than that. But yeah, the racism is a big issue. There's a lot of professional BS into it. I just remember seeing this so much time that so many times, because I'm a journalist. I'm a photojournalist. I work for newspapers, magazines, and there's so many times where nobody wants to credit you. They want to take it for themselves. Yeah, they're coming to Zenny. Thank you, Zenny. They're not going to the Review Journal or Channel 4 in Las Vegas. They're, because everybody knows it's going to get buried. It's all going to, all the reporting on the stadium is everything's rosy. When they do report on it, when they do address the rumors, they downplayed them. Oh, they didn't tighten them right. Right. Yeah, I mean, people are coming to Zenny with this stuff because maybe they don't trust I don't think they trust the media to put this out there, because they've been lied to before. They've been lied to about this entire process, about where the money comes from, how the money falls back on them if it's not made. Man, like I said, I can't get rid of the sun. Excuse me. You can't. It's a mess. It's a huge mess, and like I said, you got to give it to Zenny, because somebody came and trusted him with this information, and to regurgitate that information as your own is, I'm gonna be frank, it's bullshit. Call it what you want, whether it's egos or racism or anything else. It's bullshit, and it's funny that everyone wants to try and have. Yeah, the sun is my friend. It gives me all I need, but it also makes camera work a little weird, and also I'm just this all the time. This side of my face is, I think, going to just be wrinkles, and this side will be beautiful. This always seems to be right here, like when I'm driving. But anyways, I'm going to cut this short here. There's nothing much going on here. Again, they're not ready with the renewed ring. I can't even say it. RingCentral deal. It's still being worked out. Somebody screwed up the floors for the Warriors deal. That sounded like a big mess. Somebody doesn't like the sign out front, and yeah, there's not not a lot of action today. I did like the little bit of parrying there between Scott Haggerty and Henry. That car back there. What about that car back there? I have no idea. Did I miss a car here? I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna get out of here. It's freezing cold out here, and I'll talk to you guys next time. So we'll probably be at the next meeting. Hopefully they'll have some information on a bunch of this stuff. But I'll talk to you guys next time, and keep on watching Zenny 62.